Hello and welcome back. I hope you are doing well and happy March. I think when you are watching this, it is March 3rd, so I hope your March is off to a good start so far. With it being March and spring being just around the corner, I thought I would do a little spring pattern roundup and share all of the spring knitting patterns that I am thinking about, that I've been stalking on Ravelry, and that are kind of just occupying a lot of my mental space. I have 5 categories for you today. I will be talking about cardigans, light sweaters, blouses, tops, so like t-shirty, tank top, sleeveless tops, and accessories. So I will go through all the patterns in those categories, maybe share my thoughts on yarn that I would use, and I think at the end I will choose my top pick from each category. Which pattern from that category, that section, that I would most like to knit this spring. So let's just jump on in and start with my first category, which is cardigans. So I have never knit a cardigan before, but I really want to, and I think spring is the perfect time to make a cardigan. So I sifted through all of my favorited cardigans on Ravelry and even looked at like cardigans that I don't have favorited, just searched cardigans on Ravelry, and I found 4, I believe. 5. I found 5 cardigans that I really, really love, and hopefully one of them will be a pattern that I will cast on by the end of the month. So I'm going to start with the first cardigan that caught my attention, which is the That Cardigan by Sumin Kim. And this cardigan is a really beautiful textured boat neck cardigan. It feels to me very like refined but casual, kind of Cezanne-esque. I am not sure what stitches the designer used to make this texture, but I love it. I think it's a really nice texture for spring because cables to me can be a little too heavy and they're much more of like a fall winter texture, while this feels a bit lighter and a little airier. Even though it's not holey or lacy, it just feels a bit lighter than cables do. So I really, really like the texture that this cardigan has. And as I said, I also love the boat neck of the cardigan. I think it is just super, super pretty and delicate. So this cardigan is knit up in a lace weight yarn held with a fingering weight yarn. So it is a pretty light sweater. I think making it great for the transitional months that we are entering into. And I could see myself knitting this probably in Knitting for Olive in the petroleum green color or dusty aqua. So that's kind of like a deeper tealy green or like a baby blue. So kind of 2 ends of a spectrum there, but I would like it in both of those colors. I think the petroleum green color would be probably a bit more of a year-round wear for me. I would definitely wear that in the fall, probably in the winter, and then in the spring, but I might stop wearing it like mid to late May, whereas the dusty aqua, like the paler blue, would be much more of a spring summer color for me, or maybe even like a February through June color. So I think those are kind of like the 2 colors I would love to knit this in. And this sweater on Ravelry right now is $10.47 in case you're interested in buying this pattern. The next cardigan I have is the Vivian Vintage Cardigan by, I'm not sure if I'm going to say this right, Famke or Mipi, M-I-P-I, the label. This is another textured cardigan. It does have some cables. It looks like it has some fun texture on the sleeves. It has these adorable puff sleeves as well as like a tighter cuff to give like a balloon sleeve. This sweater is slightly outside of my comfort zone. I am not a super feminine dresser. I think I do like ruffles and girly things, but I don't tend to wear like super feminine items, and this to me leans much more feminine than I would typically go. But something about this, once I saw it, I could not get it out of my mind. I think it would be beautiful for Easter. It would make a really lovely like light jacket for the spring. So a great outerwear piece for later spring, and then of course a great cardigan for early spring to wear under jackets and coats. I really love both of the samples that the designer has in her pattern photos. So there's a really beautiful creamy kind of off-white version, and then she also has this corally, but like a muted. She also has this muted corally pink version as well that I love. I'm not sure if that color is the best on me, but if I were to knit this, I think I would do either a very, very soft pink, like some sort of petal. If I can find a yarn that matches what I'm describing, I'll put a picture. So either like a very petally, super soft pink, like white with like a tinge of pink, or a mauvey color, like a deeper mauve would be really lovely. So those are the two colors I would knit this in, and I do think this would be such a lovely all spring season piece. And this sweater is currently $9.04 on Ravelry. I'm giving prices in US dollars because that is where I am based, but some of these patterns are originally in euros or kroner. So I'll be giving the current US dollar price on Ravelry. My next pattern is a free pattern, which I love. Who doesn't love a free pattern? And that is the Crossroads cardigan by Deborah Doherty. So this pattern is a bit of a choose your own adventure. You can do this either as a fully wraparound sweater with a tie at the waist, or you could do a version where it kind of comes just as like a crossover. It doesn't fully tie around, and you do a button or toggle to secure it. And then there are also two texture pattern options. There's a siren going by. If you can hear that, I apologize. There are two texture pattern choices as well as two sleeve lengths. So 1, 2, 3, 6 options to choose from, I guess 2 in each of these categories. So the first choice is called the straightaway, and this is a half rib, half stockinette crossover sweater. So there are 2 buttons to secure it, one on the outside and one on the inside of the sweater. And the cuff has a really pretty angled rib pattern to it, which I think gives it some really nice visual interest. The second option is called the scenic route, and this is a fully wrap around, like tie in a bow type of sweater. Half of it is in a really pretty pointelle pattern along with pointelle on the cuffs. And then the third option is called the shortcut. And this is either a crossover or wraparound. So either you can choose between the 2 closure options. And then you can also choose between the pointelle lace pattern or the rib for the front. And it looks like this one is in short sleeves. So definitely a bit of a choose your own adventure pattern, which I love. I am particularly drawn to the pointelle pattern in the color that she knit it in, which is a really gorgeous navy. I just think this would be such a great morning sweater just to put it on with either jeans or kind of flowy pants, wrap myself up in it, have a coffee, sitting on the couch. It just seems like such a beautiful springtime sweater. Like all three of the options are fantastic, and it is again free, which who doesn't love that? So again, if I were to knit this, I think I would definitely do navy in the pointelle, but I could definitely see myself knitting both, or I guess all three of these versions. But if I had to choose, I would probably choose the navy pointelle version, and I would also knit it in a navy. I just think it is so beautiful and perfect for the spring. My fourth cardigan pattern is the Sophia cardigan by Mochi Knits. This is a collared cardigan. She has knit her sample in a bright, bright red, which just draws your eye right to it. It is so fun, and looking through a lot of the projects on Ravelry, it seems like red was or is a very popular color choice for this pattern. I am currently knitting a collared pattern, and I actually don't own that many collared items. I'm looking at my sweaters. I don't think I have any collared. Oh no, I've got one collared sweater. Not that I've knit. I'm knitting one right now. And then I only have like 2 or 3 collared shirts. So something about a collared cardigan is really intriguing to me. Similar to the Vivian sweater, I think this would be a great outerwear piece on warmer days and perfect for layering under a jacket on cooler days this spring. I could see myself getting a lot of use out of it for that reason, especially if I were to knit it in a really nice like dark teal, almost like the color I'm wearing today. I guess this might be a little more blue than what I'm thinking, but either like a dark teal or like a fawny oatmeal-y brown, kind of like the color that I knit my honey scarf in. I could really see myself wearing this cardigan a lot in one of those 2 colors. I think it would look great with blue jeans. It would look great with, I have a pair of these cream off-white jeans that I bought last summer that I am obsessed with. I could see this cardigan being great with those. Adorable over dresses or with skirts. I just see this being a really versatile piece in my closet. So that is the Sophia cardigan, and it is currently $10.45 on Ravelry. My last cardigan pattern is one that I have been swooning over for at least the past year, and I probably think about this pattern every other day. I have visions of myself wearing this to the airport with matching hand knit joggers. I picture myself wearing this for coffee runs on like a Saturday morning. I make up these scenarios and outfits in my head of when and where I would wear certain knit pieces. And this one is probably my most daydreamed about knit item, and that is the Simple Hood cardigan by Knit Row. I think this pattern is the perfect marriage of like a sweatshirt and a sweater. I am trying to phase sweatshirts out of my wardrobe. I have found over the past few years it's just so easy to grab a sweatshirt on like a Saturday. You're running out the door in leggings, going to a workout class, going for a walk. Just leggings and a sweatshirt is just the easiest grab and go outfit, and I am trying to move away from that. And I think this pattern is just the perfect sweatshirt replacement because it is cozy. It has a hood like some of my favorite sweatshirts have, but it just looks a little more elevated. Something I really love about this pattern is the way the raglan is knit. It has these 4 kind of knit stripes that are really close together that I think are just such a really sweet detail. Something I also really love about this pattern is how small the ribbing is. It looks like it's only about a ½ inch of ribbing on the body and cuff, which I really love, especially for like a sweatshirt. I don't like anything that's too grippy. Like my favorite sweatshirts, the cuffs and the waistband are kind of like all stretched out and loose, and they don't fit at all anymore. And so I love that in this, that it's not too tight anywhere. But it does look like some people have knit larger or longer ribbed cuffs. So if that is something that you want to do, you can do that too. And I actually don't mind the look of that, but for the scenarios in which I see myself wanting to wear this the most, I want it to be loose. And I see myself wanting to wear this the most in like travel scenarios, either long car rides, on long haul flights, anything like 5 hours plus where I'm in the car on a flight for more than 5 hours. I would love to wear this with hand knit joggers to match. Dream scenario. So that is the Simple Hood cardigan, and that is on Ravelry for $8, $8 US. So those are my 5 cardigan patterns that I'm thinking about this spring. I have to think a bit about which would be my top choice to knit. So I will let you know at the end which I will be most likely to cast on this spring. But now I'm going to move into light sweaters, lightweight sweaters. So I'm thinking sweaters kind of like the one I'm wearing today. It's clearly a sweater, but it's not super bulky or heavy. So like a lighter toss-on sweater. Again, kind of blurring the lines between sweater and sweatshirt for some of them, especially this first one, which is the Comfort Pullover by Celine Phaeton. And this sweater is a V-neck pullover sweater knit in a DK weight yarn, which is probably the heaviest weight yarn I would want to knit a sweater with for the spring. It looks like such a fantastic lounge around sweater, again, like an elevated basic. I really think that's kind of what I guess I'm going for with my spring knits, is I want elevated basics, items that I can wear around the house with leggings or wear with jeans or a dress or a skirt, and I'll feel a bit more put together. So things that can do both. Something that really drew me to this sweater was the bottom hem. Now, I've mentioned how I love a split hem. If I can do a split hem, or there is an option to do a split hem, I will. And this sweater does not have a split hem, but it does have a hemline that intrigues me. The ribbing does not go all the way around. It comes to like the midpoint and it starts to curve up, and then you have this little V of stockinette before you continue on with the ribbing. So I think this kind of curved shape at the side waistline is really interesting, and in a way might give me that split hem feeling that I'm looking for, where the sweater isn't like sucking me in and gripping me at my hips. It is flowy, a little more flowy. So that is the Comfort Pullover, and it is currently on Ravelry for $10.50. My next pattern is the Michaela sweater by Morica Knits, and this is a sweater where I own the pattern and the yarn for this. So this is a sweater that I was thinking about making this past fall, but I never got around to it, and I do really, really want it. The yarn that I would be using for this is Permin Leonora in the color Plum, held with Tin Silk Mohair in the color Deep Burgundy. I've knit up a swatch. I've talked about this before, I think, in some of my podcasts in like September, maybe August, September. So I think this is a sweater that I probably will be casting on. I think I can say that with confidence. This may be my next cast on, but I love this sweater. I think it is so elegant. I love the fit. I love how the body is a little lighter than the collar in terms of weight. The collar has a little bit of heft to it, whereas the body is a bit more airy. To me, this is my ideal crew neck sweater. Not too fitted, not too oversized. It doesn't look frumpy at all, but I think it would just be such a great elevated everyday basic. So this is knit in a lace weight held double, so it is a super lightweight sweater. But I think with my yarn choices, it will be a little warmer than originally intended, which I think would make it a great sweater for the spring. And it is currently on Ravelry for $11.68 US. The next light sweater I have for you is also a sweater I already own the pattern and yarn for, and that is the Softy Sweater Swancho by Lucy Bogart. So this is a sweater poncho. It basically looks like this boat neck, funnel neck sweater with big, deep bat wing sleeves, and then they're fitted for the lower half of the arm. So I have never knit a batwing sweater like this before. I actually don't own any sweaters with that deep of, I guess, an armpit or that style of sleeve. But this is one that I could see myself wearing to a yoga class or a workout class, again, as like a sweatshirt replacement. That seems to be my theme. I think I said it already, but elevated basics, sweatshirt replacements, dress up, dress down type of sweaters. Now this pattern, it doesn't have a ton of projects on Ravelry. It has 9 projects. I really love, there's a brown sample that I really love by Majesty. It is just a really pretty, kind of like soft brown. My camera just died. I'm not 100% sure where it was when it died, but I know I was talking about the Softy sweater by Lucy Bogart, which is this, big swancho sweater. It looks very cozy, like you get a lot of breathing room. It looks very comfortable. I love how oversized the body is. It looks like you probably have a lot of breathing room within the body, some good airflow, air circulation. So I think this is such a great sweater for spring because of that, because it looks cozy and comfy, but also breathable. And this pattern is currently on Ravelry for $7.99. My last light sweater pattern is the soft loop sweater by Other Loops. This is a pattern I'm sure you have seen. I think it's a relatively popular pattern, and I've seen it a decent amount on Instagram, but it is a mock neck sweater with these really fun textured stripes. So that's just created by knit and purl stitches, and you get these really fun 3D raised stripes throughout the sweater. Spring, for some reason, I feel like that's when you start wearing like fun clothes again. In the winter, I feel like your coat is the outfit. In the fall, I definitely start to gravitate towards just like chunkier, warmer knit items. I just want to be cozy. But in spring, I think we're kind of shedding some layers. Life just feels a bit more fun and light in the spring, and I think this sweater definitely has that same feeling. I actually had purchased Knitting for Olive mohair and merino in the color Pea Shoots a few years ago to knit this sweater in that colorway. But that green, I decided, just wasn't my best color. It just didn't look great on me, so I knit a hood and I'm currently knitting a shawl with that yarn instead. But I would love this sweater in a really bright, fun color. So whether that be a red or a different bright green that suits me a bit better, or maybe like a chartreusey color could be nice. I'm not 100% sure, but I think a really vibrant, bright color would just kind of play into the playfulness of this soft loop sweater. So those are my thoughts on that one, and it is currently on Ravelry for $9.87. That is it for light sweaters. So we're going to move into my next category, which is blouses. And the only thing for me that's really distinguishing between a blouse and a light sweater is a light sweater is something that I might wear like a t-shirt or a tank top under and take off throughout the day. Like I might take the sweater off during the day and have something on underneath. Whereas a blouse, I probably would still wear a tank top underneath them, but a blouse is something I'm treating as like a shirt. So that's why I've differentiated these two categories. So the first blouse that I have is the Mona sweater by Irene Lynn, which I just think this is so stunning. It is a really gorgeous, light and airy blousey sweater. It has these big balloon sleeves that I think are so fun, and a really just gorgeous chevron eyelet detailing across the hem and the balloon sleeves. Every time I see this sweater, when I'm scrolling through my favorited patterns, I open it in a new tab and keep that tab open for a few days and just go back to it and look at it every now and again. I don't know, I think something about it is just so pretty. I think it might be the balloon sleeves. Some of my favorite blouses that I own have these big like bishop balloon sleeves with a really tight cuff. They almost feel a bit piratey, like I feel like Captain Jack Sparrow in some of them. And I don't know, I love like a big sleeve in the spring. I think it's just so fun. How many times am I going to say the word fun? Just so fun. This pattern has been out since August of 2022, and there are only 24 projects on Ravelry, which is shocking to me because I think it is so beautiful. I am so surprised that not that many people have made it and at least posted it. Maybe more people have made it than posted it, of course, but so anyways, if I were to make the Mona sweater, I think this might become my version of the ranunculus. I know some people knit the ranunculus and they knit like 10 different versions of it. I could see myself knitting 10 different Mona sweaters and it just being such a staple spring and even fall blouse in my wardrobe. So if I were to make this, I think I would make it in a cream, like a really light, soft off-white. I think that tends to be one of my go-to colors in the spring and summer. But someone did make this in an orange, like a light rust that I really like, and like a mustardy yellow, which I think are both really fun, and I do like both of those colors on me. So that is the Mona sweater, and it is currently on Ravelry for $7.50. The next blousey top that I want to talk about is the Shell shirt by Wool and Beyond. This is another pattern that was released in 2022 and also doesn't have a ton of projects on Ravelry, which is so surprising to me because this, similar to the Mona sweater, is another one that I could see myself knitting in a few different colors. This blouse also has these big puffy sleeves. Then it also has this ribbing at the waist that kind of looks like it cinches in a little bit and it gives a bit of like a billowiness to the sweater at the waist, which I think is really pretty. It has a V-neck with two little, I guess they're I-cord ties. You can either leave open or tie in a bow. I like it styled both ways. I would love this in either a soft baby blue or a soft brown. I feel torn because I think a soft brown I would get more wear of in the spring and fall. Like I could wear it in 2 seasons, but in a like baby or powder blue, I could see myself wearing that more in the spring and early months of the summer. Whereas the brown, I'd wear it sometimes in the spring, maybe once or twice in the summer, and probably a lot in the fall. But I'd wear the blue a lot more in the spring. But it seems like most people are knitting it in like a sandy grayish type of color, which I also think is really pretty. But I have a lot of sweaters in these sandy grayish beigey colors, so I'm trying to not knit things in that color as much. So that is the shell shirt by Wool and Beyond. This also comes in a short sleeve version. It is a separate pattern, but that is also something for me to think about, I guess. If I were to knit this, would I prefer the long sleeve version or the short sleeve version? So that is the shell shirt, and it is on Ravelry for $9.81. My next blouse is a new to me designer that I actually found 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I love so many of her patterns. I have 2 in this video, and the first one is this one, which is the Cream One Shoulder by Blue Squirrel Yume. This is a really pretty long-sleeved one shoulder top. One shoulder is covered and then it kind of curves down so your other shoulder is open. I love the braid detail along the neckline, and I like that the ribbing looks like it cinches in, kind of similar to what I was saying about the shell shirt. It looks like it cinches in at the waist and creates a little bit of billowing, which I think makes this really nice to either tuck in or leave untucked. I have, I think, 2 sweaters like this that are like long sleeve off the shoulder sweaters, but they're both much more fitted, and I am wearing these all the time in the spring for date nights or going out with friends. I just think this type of top is such a fantastic evening going out nighttime top for me. Like I'm not going to the club. I'm going to like a cute little bar. So I think this type of blouse really, really works well for my level and speed of nightlife. This is another one that it only has 3 projects, and it's been out for 2 years, since February 2024. So I am very tempted to make this just to add another project to it so more people can see what it looks like. But if I were to knit this, I would definitely do a lighter color so the braid is more visible. I really think the braid is a highlight of this sweater. She does have an image of the sweater in black on the pattern page, and you can see the braid, but it is not as noticeable as it is on the cream version. So I think I would probably lean towards a lighter color for this one. So that is the Cream One Shoulder by Blue Squirrel Yume, and that is currently on Ravelry for $7. My final blouse is one that was recently released. It was released this past February of 2026. And that is the Storo pullover by Kit Couture. This is a 3/4 sleeve striped blouse, or almost like a long sleeve t-shirt, if you will. This blouse reminds me so much of Bowden. I feel like it's something they would sell. It might just be the color combination, this green and blue stripe color combo of the first sample, but I also think the slight color blocking with the larger, slightly larger section of one color on the top into the thinner stripes throughout also feels very Bowden-esque. There are no projects on Ravelry of this top right now, but I think this would be really, really fun in some high contrast color combinations. I really like the green and blue. I also like the brown and baby blue, maybe a pink and a green, red and pink. I think there's so many fun striped color combos you could do for this. If you are on the Olga sweater cardigan kick, like I know so many people are, I think this would be a great pattern to add to your striped knit wish list because it's a little different than the Olga blouse. It feels a bit more toppy, I guess, than sweatery, and I just think it's super playful and fun and happy, and it is currently on Ravelry for $7.24. Those are all of my blouses. Now I just have tops and accessories to go through with you. I have 3 tops and 4 accessories, so we are nearing the end of this pattern roundup. And the first 2 tops that I have to talk about are quite similar. The first is the Live top by Morica Knit. This is a really pretty mock neck, slightly asymmetrical, split hem tank. I don't know if it's a tank or a t-shirt, what you would call it, just a sleeveless top. It's got pretty thick shoulders on it. And I love this top for all of the reasons I just mentioned. I love the asymmetry of the bottom hem. It has a slight split, which I love. I think that it would be fantastic under coats or jackets for the spring. And I love how she has her samples styled with these long necklaces. It feels kind of retro. I'm not the best at decades, but it may be 70s. I don't know. This is another garment that I would say is an elevated basic. It is at its core just a sleeveless mock neck, but it has some elements that I think really elevate it to the next level, such as, you know, the asymmetrical hem, the split hem, the asymmetry at the bottom. And I also think it has I-cord edging on the armholes, which makes this sweater look really like high quality and well made and just very well thought out. If I were to make this, I love the green sample that Morica Knit has on the pattern page, so I think I would probably do a green. I'm just incredibly drawn to that green version. So the Live top, the sleeveless version, is on Ravelry for $11.68. My next top pattern is the Kirby top by Blue Squirrel Yume. This top, to me, feels like a super elevated basic t-shirt, which I really love. I am very much so a white t-shirt girl. I reach for my white t-shirts constantly in the spring and summer, and I think knitting this in a white would be a very well-loved garment. I own yarn that I actually might consider knitting this in, and that is Amano Yarns, Ayni, Ayni, and I have this in the color Salt White, which is a really beautiful white. I think it is a tiny bit warm, which is perfect. It's not like a stark white. Again, not too many projects on Ravelry. People seem to be knitting it in more lighter neutral tones. However, there is one person who made this in a really beautiful rusty burnt orange color that I really, really like. She's styled it with black jeans and black boots, and I think it looks fantastic. So if I knit this in a lighter tone and reach for it a lot this spring, maybe that's one to consider for fall knitting as well later in the year. So that is the Kirby top by Blue Squirrel Yume. It is currently on Ravelry for $7. And my last top is the Jasmine blouse by Hyunji Jin of Bosong Knit. I am probably mispronouncing her name, so I'm so sorry about that. But this is a really pretty kind of cap sleeve, sleeveless top with a gorgeous little keyhole detail in the back and a slight mock neck with a little lacy mohair ruffle that kind of looks like lace, like a little piece of lace is peeking out from underneath the mock neck, the neckline. I think this top would be so lovely on its own or under jackets. I could really see myself wearing this with skirts. I have on my to sew list the Sandra skirt in a nice white cotton, and I think this would be a really pretty top to wear with that skirt in late spring. That with like ballet flats and a nice crossbody bag I think would be such a lovely everyday type of outfit. I really like this top in the navy. This navy sample that she has I think is just gorgeous, especially with the little white mother of pearl button on the back. But there is one person who knit this in a gray and did a white mohair for the little ruffly frilly bit that just peeks out from the collar. And I think that is just adorable. So I'm also toying with the idea of doing this in maybe, I don't know if contrasting colors, but a navy blue and then either like a lighter blue as a little mohair detail or in a brown with a little white mohair lacy ruffle detail. This is knit up in a slightly heavier yarn. I believe it is a worsted weight yarn, so it would be nice to wear under a spring jacket, and as it gets warmer in the day you could take the jacket off but still be warm enough, I think, with the heavier worsted weight of the Jasmine blouse. This pattern is currently on Ravelry for $8. So that is it for tops. I only have 3 today for you. I think all 3 are such great transitional pieces for this season, and I think would really work for probably all 4 seasons, depending on how you style them and what you wear them with. Now we are moving on to my final category, which is accessories, and I think this will be a pretty quick category to get through. My first accessory is a poncho, and that is the Olivia poncho by Myre by Maria. So this poncho is an asymmetrical poncho with a really pretty diamond lacy eyelet pattern. I think this is such a fantastic layering piece. I think ponchos in general are great for these transitional months. You can wear it over a t-shirt, over a sweater, over a jacket. It's just such a great extra to have in case it gets cooler at night and you need something a little warmer, a slightly warmer layer, or it's a great item to have to wear on a cooler morning and then you can just easily take it off for warmer afternoons. So I would love to make this in a soft brown exactly as the sample images are. I just think that is such a pretty color, such a versatile color for me and my wardrobe. And this is also a pattern that really doesn't have many projects. It has one project, and nothing in it, no photos on that project. But it was published last month in February of 2026, so maybe more people will be making this and posting their projects soon. And this poncho goes for $8.80 on Ravelry. My next two accessories are scarves. The first is the plume scarf by Rui Yamamuro, and this is knit up in a linen flax yarn, which gives it this really pretty, light, airy look. It doesn't look heavy at all. It looks just like a lovely addition to any outfit, so a bit more of an accessory than something to keep you warm. But I think this scarf could be such a great way to add a little texture to an outfit and visual interest, especially if it's like a plain white t-shirt and jeans. I think this just gives a little, I don't know, add a little intrigue to an otherwise somewhat simple outfit. And I think plume means feather in French, if I am not mistaken. And I think it does really have like a nice feathery look to it. So looking at the projects from other Ravelry users, I really like how everyone is styling it. Some people have styled it more of like an accessory, just like in the project or the pattern photos itself. But some people have it double wrapped around their neck, how you might tie a Sophie scarf. And there are a few people who also have it tied in their hair, like a headband. So it seems like a pretty versatile little scarf. And one other thing that I really like about this is that it has this little loop that holds it together. So you don't need to knot it like you do a lot of these other little mini scarves that we see on Ravelry. So I really appreciate that little detail, especially because this is more of like a spring summer scarf. So maybe you don't want like the knot and the extra bulk. You want something that feels a little more sleek and streamlined. So if I were to make this, I would probably do it in a blue or some sort of a springy green, because as I said, I would want to wear this as more of like an add-on to a basic outfit rather than like a scarf to keep warm. So that is the plume scarf, which is currently on Ravelry for $4.92. My second scarf is the Celestine scarf by Maria Shea Mogenstad. I might be pronouncing that wrong. And that is also a really pretty lace detail scarf. It looks like it would be a relatively quick knit. And something else about this scarf that I really like is that she does have a matching ear warmer and matching glove patterns. They're sold separately, but if you wanted to, you could make a full little set. And I think if I were to make this, I like the idea of a pale color, maybe like a pastel yellow, like a butter yellow could be really pretty. Probably something like that, or like a soft pink, like a petal pink. I think something very spring feeling, because I think this is knit in, it's a merino and a mohair, so I think it's a bit of a warmer fabric. So I would want a slightly springier color, I think, to help balance that out so it doesn't feel too fall or wintry. And this scarf is on Ravelry for $7.70. And that brings me to my last accessory pattern, the last pattern of this video, which is Pearl Soho's dumpling bag. Now, I see this bag all the time. There are thousands of projects of this bag on Ravelry. I love it so much. I'm sure you have seen this before. I have never knit a bag. I've only crocheted one handbag before, and I don't know, I feel like I am ready to knit a bag. I never thought I would want a knit purse, but I've decided I do now. So I think the dumpling bag would be such a great little bag to knit. I really like the idea of knitting this in a color that I could see myself wearing year round. So one that I think would complement or go well with a lot of neutrals. I tend to wear a lot of blacks and browns in the winter and fall. And in the spring and summer, I'm in whites and creams and lighter browns, like oatmeal-y colors. So I think a fun, bright color to add a little something to my otherwise relatively neutral wardrobe would be really nice. I'm thinking maybe red or like an avocado green maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this would be a really fun bag to knit and to have for spring and summer. If I do knit this, I would definitely line it. I think one of the reasons that I have been hesitant to knit a bag is, I think, structural integrity. I don't like when bags get super slouchy. So I think I would add a liner to it to kind of help it keep its shape a little bit. So yeah, that is the dumpling bag by Pearl Soho, and that is a free pattern on their website. So that is everything. Those are all of the patterns. I think I'm going to run through and choose my top from each category, and I'm just going to go with my gut. I love all of these. I think I could sit here and analyze them, which I like more for what reasons and why for hours. But I am just going to go with my gut and what my gut is telling me when I look at the pictures. So I may not end up casting any of these on. I may end up casting on a different one. Who knows? But this is just kind of like my gut top choice in each category. So for cardigans, I think my top choice is the That Cardigan by Sumin Kim. For light sweaters, I'm going to go with the Michaela sweater. This has been one that I've been wanting to cast on for a while. I have the yarn and the swatch. So the Michaela sweater by Morica Knit is my top choice in the light sweater category. Ooh, for blouses, okay. The Shell Shirt by Wool and Beyond. I think that one I could see myself wearing the most through spring, summer, and fall. For tops, I'm going to go with the Jasmine blouse. I love it in the navy. I love the idea of doing a little contrasting or slightly different shade for the little mohair ruffle around the neckline. I think it's so cute. Just like the right amount of girly for me. And lastly, for accessories, I'm going to go with the dumpling bag. I think that just would be a really fun bag to have and probably a pretty quick knit, which I don't really have any super quick knits on the needles right now, so I think I could use a little bit of cast off motivation, like cast something on, knit it quickly, and cast it off to kind of motivate me to keep moving on some of the projects I am currently working on. So those are my, I guess, top spring patterns for 2026. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to know in the comments if you have knit any of these and what yarns you knit them in, what color you knit it in, if you'd recommend it or not, any tips for any of these patterns. Please let me know down below. But that is everything. As always, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.